Hi there, this is Elise Bennin, your marketing mentor. And this is the podcast for you if and only if you are ready to leave the feast or famine syndrome behind, and I mean for good. This episode is going to be a little different. It's not an interview, and it's not a replay of a presentation I gave. It's really just me thinking out loud about a few ideas I'm working on. And it's also a product of me listening to the market and responding to what I hear, which is the antidote to racking your brain to come up with content. So I'm just practicing what I preach. So listen and learn. So for the last few episodes, I've been talking a lot about email newsletters because that's what we've been focused on in the Simplest Marketing Plan Plus program. And because I do believe that if you do nothing else, you should use an email newsletter to stay in touch and stay top of mind so that your best prospects and really everyone in your orbit, in your network, doesn't forget about you, because out of sight is out of mind. But until I made this monthly newsletter part of the personalized plan of almost every member of the SMP Plus program for 2026, I really had no idea just how many obstacles my people were putting in their own way to this newsletter thing. And so that was the impetus of episode 548. What's the big deal about email newsletters, and about the topic for the office hours in March. And in fact, for the quick tips, my own email newsletter. So first I want to just read you two of those issues. They're really quick. That's why we call them quick tips. On April 1st, the topic was how to stop avoiding your newsletter. I said, what's the big deal about doing a newsletter? That's the question on my mind after talking with over 100 SMP Plus members about their marketing. Even after I suggest doing a micro newsletter, so many people still avoid it. Do you too? If so, I want to know why. One problem, I think, is the word itself, newsletter. It comes with history and connotations. The word news feels official, maybe even journalistic. So I'm trying to lighten it up a little bit. And I wanted to start by sharing my first and favorite piece of newsletter advice from my good friend and content expert, Ann Handley. She's the author of Everybody Writes. And I once heard her speak, and she said, it's not about the news, it's about the letter. Rather than sending a newsletter, what if you think of it as sending a letter, maybe even a love letter to your favorite prospect, to your best client? Does that lighten the mental burden at all? I hope so, because sending a newsletter or a love letter is one of the surest ways to build credibility and stay top of mind to your best prospects. And you might even get what I call newsletter magic. That's when someone replies out of the blue, in quotation marks, saying, your timing is perfect. I have a project for you. But here's the thing. There is no newsletter magic without a newsletter. So in this quick tip, if you needed motivation to get yours done, I shared a bunch of excellent examples. Some are longer, some are shorter. There's really no right way, but there is one rule, and that is don't overthink it. So that was the April 1st quick tip. And then on April 15th, because I do this every other week, it was called Out of Ideas, Mimic the Masters. I asked in my office hours, actually for March, if people had sent a newsletter yet this year. So end of the first quarter, did you send a newsletter yet? Here are the results. 4% said, yes, I've sent my first one. 23%, that's not bad, said, I've sent a new edition or issue. 39.5% said I'm still working on it, maybe overthinking it. 33.5% said, ugh, I'm resisting. And I want to know, are you with the 33.5 who are resisting? If so, today's quick tip will help. In the last one on how to stop avoiding your newsletter, I reframed doing your newsletter as simply writing a letter, which I do think is much simpler. I hope you agree. But maybe you still don't know what to say. So whenever you're short on ideas, I like to say mimic the masters. That means find a few newsletters you really like, analyze what they're doing well, do your own version. That's it. And a flurry of Simplest Marketing Plan members just published their first newsletter or rebooted an existing one because it's hard to stay consistent. And so many of them really are truly excellent. And I did include a bunch more examples, excellent examples of LinkedIn newsletters, which are much quicker to start. And best of all, the list is built in. You don't have to get people on your list because it is built in. LinkedIn automatically invites all your contacts and connections, everyone in your network, to subscribe when you send out the first issue. That's the beautiful thing about it. So all you have to do is pick your favorite newsletters in your inbox. I'm sure you've got them. Mimic what you like best. That's it. Really, that's it. Okay. So those were the two quick tips. And actually, I also wanted to share one of the members of the SMP Plus after he sent out his first newsletter he wrote in our Wins Slack channel. My first newsletter is finally out. It feels like such an accomplishment and weight off my shoulders. But also in retrospect, it really isn't that hard. You really just have to get it out. More ideas are pouring in. And I love that because that is what happens. You feel like you have nothing to say. And then once you get going, more ideas pour in. So today, I was talking with Bonnie Fanning. She helps me write my quick tip. And we were talking about the next topics. And I still want to focus on newsletters because although many of our members are getting their first ones out, I can still see the roadblocks that need removing. And one big problem is, again, I said the word newsletter is a problem. But beyond that, when you hear the word newsletter, you have an image in your mind of what that is. And that image, that idea, is always very limiting. Even if that image is different for everyone, it's still, no matter what, it's limiting. It limits you to that. Whereas I see so many newsletters, and so I see so many different options and ways to do a newsletter, which is why I love to save and share these excellent examples, mostly in our monthly office hours, but also, as you can see, in my quick tips. But what I've come to realize this week, as I've been sharing these examples and people give me feedback, what they love, what they tell me they love, is that it's just helpful to see how others are doing their newsletter. And I think that that is actually the only thing that can break through that frozen image you have in your mind of what a newsletter is and therefore has to be. Because I can tell you all day long, I can tell you it can be short or long. It can be all text or mostly images. It can be very personal or it can be very factual. It can be original content. It can be curated content. All of these formats count as newsletters, and I can say it till the cows come home, as they say. But until you actually see them, I think that frozen image will get in your way. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's what I've been doing a lot, as you can see in my most recent quick tips, showing all different types of examples. And by the way, if you don't already get my quick tips, you can sign up for them. They're free at marketing-mentor.com. Next one's going out soon. I see another problem, right? Once we get past that problem, once you get one going, you've got to keep it going. And that fact can be, and actually is, used often as another obstacle. In fact, this same member who got the first one out today, he wrote in the Slack channel, my newsletter number 2 is out. It's one thing to have the first one out, but then to follow through and publish every next one after is where the real challenges arise. Exposure and vulnerability is real, but it's so worth it. I'm definitely looking forward to continuing on this journey. I agree with him. It is so worth it. So, little segue. I was in LA most of last week with my mother, and she's been sorting through all her stuff as she gets ready for a big move. And so she sent me home with an envelope full of my old newsletters, printed ones that I published as my first marketing tool from before 1993. The first one she had for me was 1993, but I started it, I think, in 1990. And I had printed versions and email versions when it transitioned into the Quick Tips, which was around 2000. Those first email newsletters, actually, the Quick Tips, were all text. It was literally a message I typed and sent to a bunch of people. There was no MailChimp. There was no other email marketing system yet. It was just me sending out a message to my network, which is what it still could be, by the way, especially when you do it on LinkedIn. Anyway, today I was showing Bonnie these old printed newsletters, and she said, "Wait, have you been publishing consistently since 1993 or before?" I said, "Before." She said, "Wow, that's impressive. So many people have trouble even starting." Then she asked me, "What makes it possible for you to be so consistent for so long?" And I said, "It's just really never a question that I won't do it. I'm committed to my newsletter." And then she said something that I haven't been able to get out of my head all day. She said, "Okay, that feels more like a personality thing, a you thing." And I thought, well, maybe, but there's nothing special about me. I am simply committed to my business and to my marketing. Anyone could be. Anyone could decide. I talked about just deciding earlier this year. Why couldn't you just decide to commit to your own marketing and not even allow yourself to question whether or not you'll do it? I mean, it's true. I've been publishing the Quick Tips via email every 2 weeks for a good 25 years. In the same way that I've been publishing this podcast every 2 weeks since almost as long, 2008. So maybe almost 20 years. It's just something I do. I don't think about whether I want to or whether I have any ideas. It's my assignment and I produce. I just deliver it to myself. And I will tell you that this commitment bleeds into the work I do with my clients. I am committed to them and I deliver for them in the same way that I do for myself. There really is no difference. So I don't know, is that a me thing? Isn't that something you could do or decide to do also? That's my question. I'm not really sure what the lesson is here or what you'll take away from this kind of free association, but I do hope it's helpful and maybe you can just decide. So if you want my help figuring all of this out, you can always take advantage of my free mentoring session. You can find that and lots more resources, including my Quick Tips, which I hope you'll sign up for if you don't already get it. So enjoy, and I will see you next time.